So a few days ago, I did a piece on Michael Jordan not having any rivals during his time in the NBA. Basically, this was in comparison to LeBron, who had a couple of contemporaries who can kind of measure up to him during his time in the NBA, specifically Kobe Bryant and Steph Curry. But then after that, which was crazy, Scottie Pippen came out with some odd quotes where he kind of downplayed Michael Jordan and uplifted LeBron James. Now, in my video, I said that Jordan had no rival across the court from him. But I did say the only real diminishment that we have for Jordan is that he played with a player like Scottie Pippen and wasn't able to win without Scottie Pippen. He achieved scoring titles and all stars and all those other accolades, but he never got anything as far as in the playoffs. He never got far without Scottie Pippen. So that's the one thing in the GOAT debate that some people can kind of argue that Mike needed Scottie and that Scottie kind of pushed the needle for the Chicago Bulls team. It wasn't that, Jordan was going against players that were on his level to say, you didn't have a Charles Barkley or Clyde Drexler. Those guys weren't in the same stratosphere as Michael Jordan. But he needed a team structure that would push his team over some of the great teams of that time. So when Scottie said this, it's brought up some, and as we know, the Last Dance was a couple of years ago, 2020, and it caused a fracture in their relationship to the point where they're no longer, from what we know, cool anymore. Scottie Pippen has completely changed his mind state on Michael Jordan because of some unflattering scenes and moments in that documentary. So from there, he had this to say about Michael Jordan, where he said he was a horrible player. He was horrible to play with, which we don't know. We never played with him. He talked about how he was a one-on-one player. He shot bad shots. But once Scottie got there, they started to win. And everybody forgot that he was that quote-unquote horrible player, which is fine for him to think. Any player in the NBA has to grow. LeBron James came in great, but he didn't make the playoffs his first couple of years, but he had to learn to become that guy. So should that really be a shot at Jordan? Do we actually believe that Jordan was the GOAT from day one? Did we not think that he had to grow and that he had to do certain things from a basketball standpoint to get over that hump, to get over those Detroit Pistons, to break into that NBA Finals, to not get swept by the Boston Celtics or, a team like that in the first round, to become an over 500 team? We know that Jordan he wasn't in his prime from day one, and that's just the truth in the matter. But Pippen saying this, and some people taking a lot of stock into this, that Scottie Pippen was the true player that got that Chicago Bulls over the hump. Also forget it was Phil Jackson and that triangle offense. That was also another aspect of it. But this video is to just talk about Scottie Pippen and the fact that some people, and most of these people, and it doesn't matter which side of the fence, LeBron or Jordan, but a lot of LeBron fans like to use Scottie Pippen as their weapon when combating Michael Jordan in the light of a GOAT, because, of course, he was the running mate with Michael Jordan, and he is a top 75 player, and he was a glue guy. But when we take into consideration Scottie Pippen as a player, we have to really look into life for Scottie without Jordan. And that's a lot of times what we don't do. So let's take a look at the stats for Scottie Pippen. And this is not a piece to destroy or tear down Scottie Pippen. I have a meaning behind all of this that I'll get to as we end. But just look at these stats. His 7-year total without Michael Jordan, 1 All-Star appearance. So wouldn't a great player of Scottie's status have made the All-Star team many, many times more without MJ by his side? That should unshackle him from, being just the sidekick role. He should be able to take over and be the man. One season over 15 points per game. Now, points aren't everything, but if you're the man on the team, if you're the go-to guy, 50 points is it's not bringing a whole lot if you're the guy on the team. 0 finals appearances, 1 All-NBA selection. That's shocking. 4 first-round exits, missed the playoffs 1 time, 2 second-round exits, and swept twice. So looking at that, and then looking at Michael Jordan's career without Scottie, and Scottie saying before he got there, Jordan was a horrible player, it just begs to differ, well, what were you without Jordan? And these stats don't really show a player that can say the things he said in that quote. Now, some of the stuff missing from that quote was he was trying to make a point that he doesn't think any player is great because it's a team sport. So nobody's over the team. If you're a great player, you have to play with other great players, I guess what he's trying to say. But no great player can win championships or win a season or win anything without the team. So, and I get that. And in some ways, I agree with that. But when saying things like that and then looking in the mirror, it hits home that Chicago Bulls team was so special and so great, not only because of Michael Jordan, but because of Scottie Pippen, because of things that won't show up in the box score. You look at these stats by Pippen without Jordan, and that doesn't look like the stats of a top 75 player, but there's so many things that impacted games that he was able to do that made him great. And in the same vein, there were a lot of things that Jordan did that impacted every single game that took them from under 500, barely making it to the playoffs, to becoming the hottest and greatest team, some will say, in all of NBA history. So we've got to look at it. And Scottie, I know their relationship is fractured and they're no longer friends, but to say something like that and then have, don't have the stats or anything to back up your claims that you were the reason for all these things is just, it's just silly. And to really bring home my point, I was having a discussion. I did a short about Scottie Pippen on this quote, and we were going back and forth, and both sides had a good points about Michael Jordan being the greatest and Scottie really being the guy that kind of pushed that Chicago Bulls team and did all the things necessary to help Jordan to get those rings. But I just had to say at the end, which I thought was pretty much how I feel about that Chicago Bulls, is that Michael Jordan was the heart and soul of that Chicago Bulls. But Scottie Pippen, truthfully, was the brains of the whole operation. So in the end, they were together. They created the body that just terror that was the Chicago Bulls. Both were great in what they had to do to get there. Why Mike was seen above that? Because the individual accolades that he was able to achieve. And also because of the impact that didn't show on the box score or the scoreboard. The things he did, the little things, the dog mentality, the hustle, the night in, night out, he was on the floor getting the loose balls, attacking the paint, doing all the little things that a great player does to will that team to a win. I don't understand why two players that played together, that won championships, that did great things together, would tear each other down. And I don't hear that from Michael's side. Even I found a quote. I don't have it on this video right now, but the quote from The Last Dance was that basically saying Scottie was what he absolutely needed to get to that next level. So he acknowledges that Scottie Pippen was one of the reasons why he was able to achieve what he did. And that goes for almost any of the greats. They didn't do it alone. There was somebody, whether it be a coach, whether it be another player, that really got them to that next level. There was no great player, whether you're talking Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, the list goes on. Larry Bird. Those guys had someone in their career during their time where they were winning and shining that helped them to get to that level. So, so basically Scottie saying that is true. He's saying that when he got there, Jordan got over the hump. But in the end, that's just what great players need. They need that one player that complements their game enough to push them over that hump. So just thought I'd touch on that. A lot of people are taking sides in this argument between Scottie and Michael and taking certain things out of context. But at the end of the day, both players were great. Both players without the other one were good players, but didn't reach the mountaintop without each other. And that just shows you how complementary both players' games were to the other. So just a quick video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.